Hello, welcome to the poker coaching student-led study session. I am a Scotty imposter and will be imposting all day. We are going to look at some all cards up hand histories. So these are actually, I don't play on Ignition. These are hand histories from Mike. He might join us later, but I think all of these hands have a check raise in them. So that will make them, I hope, a bit more interesting. Just to confirm, you can see my hand history, my Hold'em manager.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So I'll start. I guess we'll just do this the normal way. Go over. It looks like we have a poster here with 7-4. And we got a short stack with jacks. Oops, wrong button. So this is horrible play. We know that. Um, 7-4 can do nothing after posting, but just hit check. Ace queen, I would go to spot. I would go to 6 big blinds here. He chooses to kind of do this weird limpy thing, which is really bad. He brings in 8-9 with his trapping. Oh, so 8-9 now decides to ISO. So jacks, what would you do with jacks? Well, we would never limp, but I think if I had jacks here, I would not want to play multi-way, and I would probably go to 15. He's not going to do that though. Yeah, he just flats. So ace queen now is this. I would think about shoving ace queen here. This does feel a little bit trappy. He has position. I bet he's gonna flat. No, he re-raises. 8-9 should get out. And Jack's probably considering. So if he were to call, the SPR is going to be essentially one. So what he should do here is shove because he got himself into this mess. He calls. He does not get the flop he is looking for, which is a low flop. He checks. This is a good bet in the sense that his SPR is one, essentially. So you don't need to put a lot in to get it in by river on a very dry texture.
could even go smaller.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right. This is kind of suicide. Well, maybe because I see the cards, but um ace queen has now what would you do if you're ace queen here?
Easy call.
Yeah, I think you're in position. SPR is one. There's no reason to get it in now. I mean, you can fast play. I think fast playing's fine, but I think in this situation, you have ace queen on this very dry texture. The only card you're really worried about
Yeah,
maybe is
you don't need any protection. I think
yeah, I
call
agree.
the play.
Yeah, I would slow play here and then get it on turn. So he calls him off. Whatevs. All right, next hand. All right, so I'll let you talk out this one. Do you think
King six. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. King six can fold. Mm, King queen off. I would open. Ace
yeah,
king.
so let me see. Cut off, hijack, low jack. Yeah. King six is a mix, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. In my ranges, it's a fold, but I think in GTO it can mix.
Yeah. Yeah, I think folding here. Hey Melanie. Hey Mike. So yeah. So let's see what happens here. So
King queen off should open and ace king should three bet to. I use the 7 big blinds, but 8 big blinds is
yeah, somebody from
fine
seven
as
to eight
well.
is fine. I agree. But he flats for some unknown reason. So
And 7-4 can probably flat call.
Go to a flop. There's a check raising. We'll find out.
Check.
This guy's
Ace
got a little bit of pot entitlement tilt. He's like, I'm gonna bet here.
7-4 can check raise or call.
Yeah, I think I wonder if we see a check raise here. He takes pretty Mike is on here. Mike, this is your hand history, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my. Okay.
Um, so you take a nice you take a nice check raise here. See what you get. Fold. Do you generate a fold from ace king?
Ace king should call.
Let me see. So it's pot odds. Mine doesn't show equities, unfortunately, but yeah, I could see calling here.
Two overcards and a gut shot.
Yeah, I
Um,
prefer to have, yeah. Okay, so what are you doing if you're hero? You got
I would
called.
probably check.
Let's see what Mike does. Mike is not one to stop here. Puts it in.
And ace king should fold now.
Yeah, there we go. Mike, you want to go over one of your own hand histories?
Sure. Where is this supposed to be from a while back? I'm thinking.
December.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I mean, I don't. What's the theme, or what are we doing? Are we just going through hand history?
Yeah, yeah. We're just going through hand histories.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Sweet.
this is a hand history you sent me in December,
Okay.
and I think every hand has got a check raise in it. So, um, Mike, your hero. Are you open King Six?
All right. Yeah. So you want me to take this one?
Yeah,
And yes, King Six is definitely within range here. If it's spades, I'm definitely opening it. That's just kind of a randomizer, so I'm
okay.
sure I open that one. And it should actually get a walk, but I'm guessing we don't.
10-9 is gonna mistakenly make a flat here, I guess.
All right. Okay, good flop if we're gonna have king six like this. What do? They check.
Yeah,
And I'd be c betting this. I would often check if I had my range here would probably check often. This hand, I think I'm gonna probably c bet.
yeah.
And
So I've been seeing a lot of these lately. These are really these weird check rate, like tiny, meaningless check raises. I mean, obviously, the thing to think about when this happens is our pot odds, which are ridiculously low. S-
yeah, so when we get this, we're not folding. I don't think we should be three betting. So probably calling.
Okay.
Although, what do you think about a bet three bet with this hand?
Yeah, good question. I think generally in position I would call. I think out of
Yeah,
position,
yeah. I don't know if I'd be three betting too much of my range at all. I probably.
yeah. I mean, I kind of think of these click clicky small bet, small check raise sizings to be kind of strategically meaningless, I guess is the way I put it. I mean, they don't really accomplish much for the person who's choosing this size, but we see them on occasion and we've got to understand how to react to them. First thing is, I think, is to think about pot odds. But I think generally, you've got positional advantage here and you've got a very high SPR. So I don't think we really benefit a lot from re-raising.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, yeah. When I'm in position, my raising tendencies tend to go down, and so yeah. Like if let's say we have aces here, okay, like a set of aces.
Yeah.
Um, Do we want to three bet? Although against maybe population that's doing this with mergy type hands, I mean, he's not doing it with a mergy hand here. Obviously, I don't know what he's doing, but I guess he's trying to. I'm going to see where I'm at. I'm going to see if he has an ace, is what he's thinking. I don't know what he's thinking, but who knows if that's what he's in his mind. I'm going to see if he has an ace. But if we had like a set of aces here, do we want to keep let him keep betting his mergy stuff, or he's going to check now if he has, let's say, ace seven, or whatever he might be doing this with.
Yeah, good question. I think generally, I'm curious what Melanie and Tara think, but I generally think if when this, I want, I want to call. I'm trying to think of any hand that the only hand maybe I'd want to raise is ace five suited. I think generally I would fast play two pair here. But beyond, I mean, I think of two pair of having somewhat fragile but high equity. So anything else in my range, I think I'm calling. I mean, it's just the pot odds are just ridiculous. And yeah, I think I think generally when we're in position and we've got such a high SPR, we've got a real advantage. Because I think he's going to often, especially I think a player uses this size, is going to give away a lot of what the value of his hand is with his turn sizing. Sometimes they're going to go for it, but yeah, generally I think you want to call. Let's see what you do. And you call, and we go to a turn. And our villain, who is in the wilderness, as they say, now check. See, I think he's now given up the ghost, and he's giving you the opportunity to do what you want.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what I would do here. Let's see. When he does the min raise, do we want to just try to realize now that he's given us the opportunity to realize a hand like this, or do we want to,
Are
bluff?
bluffing?
Yeah, the deuce doesn't seem like it's too conducive for bluffing. Like
No, this isn't
I think
great.
our fold equity goes down when the deuce pairs. Like if he
Yeah,
had
definitely pair boards. People are more sticky.
like if he has sevens or eights or nines or whatever, that he's kind of doing that little click min raise or whatever ace. Yeah, I think I probably should just check back, but I don't know.
Um, I think either's fine. Does anybody else have an opinion? I mean, I would construct if I was going to construct a bluff here, I would construct small bet pot. I think
Yeah, I like that.
small bet, and then river pot or over pot. I think either's fine. Anybody else have an opinion about constructing a bluff here or checking back and realizing equity? No. Okay, let's see what happens. Boom. Now let's see if he stabs. You only have the nuts. Yeah, you can use any size you want here, I think, now.
Yeah, what size should we use?
I think, I mean, the argument that I've made in the past here is that with the absolute nuts, I mean, oh, it's not the absolute nuts, it's a paired board. Um, so I would, I think that you can mix your sizing here. I mean, super rarely he's going to have some kind of trap around
Yeah,
a
he's
boat,
I think we can say he's super capped. So
but I think he's capped. Yeah, so
do we go for the greedy sizing? Do we go for
I would generally go for like I would go for magnitude times frequency and do like a B75 a pot.
yeah, I'm guessing I'd probably do B75 here is probably where I go pot.
Of course he folds. Nice hand, sir. Um, who else is out there? Hey guys, hey Dean,
Hey,
hey Derek. Dean, you want to look at a hand?
sure.
All right, here we go. I'm the pale replacement for Scotty today.
You're the hero.
I'm the I'm not the hero. These are actually Mike's hands.
Oh,
So what kind of suit's gonna happen here? What do you think can happen?
Jack 10 open. I think maybe ace 4 can 3-bet.
Ace four does find a three bet.
Jack 10 call.
Jack 10's gonna call to the flop.
Hmm.
This is interesting.
Hmm.
All right, you're P7 and you get this flop. What do you do?
Check.
Yeah. He checks. What do you
Jack
think P1's gonna do
10
here?
will probably bet. But could check too. I don't hate to check.
Gonna check. This is gonna go showdown, obviously, because we could see the equities.
Call.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you call.
Hmm.
If you're a bear.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that. Yeah, that's pretty jammy.
It's pretty gun gangster.
Yeah.
So
Exit.
I think the question becomes now, do you, not knowing his combo, not knowing the equities, do you call off?
Hmm. I mean, you got two overs and a flush draw and a backdoor straight draw. I'd call.
Yeah. I think
And it's
generally, so the way I would look at this is that like I think we're like 32% to hit our flush. I might side fold here, but the question becomes what kind of his range is he doing this with? I mean, we've all seen this before. So what kind of
the
range does he do this with? He does this like,
probably like nines,
yeah,
eight
nines.
maybe, or 8-9
I
suited.
would say, yeah, weak pairs. Pairs that would like some protection would be the most common ones.
It's not
But
like aces or kings ever really.
yeah,
He doesn't want to lose value.
yeah. What are you guys doing? Are you calling off here? Or are you folding?
I'm calling.
You're calling.
Yeah.
So I think we're 35% to hit the flush. So we're close if you look at just pure pot odds. Two overs. Yeah, I can see it. Okay. Let's see what happens. He's open-ended,
Open ender.
two overs and a flush draw. And he misses.
Wow, too many out.
Too many outs, exactly. Um, Melanie or Derek, you guys want to have a look?
Sure.
Hey, Melanie. Okay, here you go. So we are playing, you're playing, and we can assume it's going to fold around to the queens.
Yeah, they should raise. The
Oh,
button,
they
they
tricky
just
limp
want,
here.
okay. In any case, the button should re-raise. Well, raise in that case.
Yeah. What size would you use here?
Um, 3 times the big blind plus the 1 big blind plus 0.5 big blind. So yeah. Okay.
And here I was going to get out of the way. I
And
don't
king
think,
10 can defend.
yeah, you got to fold this.
Fold. Okay.
Yeah, I think I think you gotta fold this. I think, um, you're out of position. I think if you have, um, king 10 suited,
Yeah.
it's a different story, but I think this combo you need to fold.
Okay.
Problem with this combo against what is a strong range is exactly what we see here, which is um oftentimes you're gonna be dominated. He's gonna have a stronger king. He's gonna have king, queen, ace, king. And so this hand presents some kicker issues.
Mm,
Yeah, that's a clear fold there for sure.
Yeah. All right, so you limp trapped queens, you get ISO'd. Let's obviously we don't need to figure out what we would do in the situation, but he got what he wanted. I assume he's gonna re-raise. He just
yeah,
calls.
okay.
And we go to a flop. Nice flop. Queens are gonna check.
Ace king should bet pot.
Yeah, I think pot's fine. I think you can do lots of stuff here. I think pot's fine. I would go B50 probably. Um, it's kind of this weird SPR because you're not quite in a 3-bet pot, so you don't quite have that SPR, but yeah, this is fine. Let's keep him in. So again, we see the click back.
Hmm. I would just call this on the button.
Yeah, you're kind of at top of range, and I think maybe what Mike said before is true, that this is kind of a see where you're at bet. And being I think being in position you want to just call. What are you guys doing if you're out of position here? And he in position raises you.
So I kind of feel like if you feel like your opponent is doing this with a mergey range, that we should start considering fast playing
Okay.
as opposed to if they're in a like a polarized situation. I don't know if this his hand here is mergey, but if we don't see his hand, do we think it's a polarizing action of his to check min raise here? Uh, I would kind of put it more in the bucket of it's probably a recreational player using a mergey range to do this. And do
Yeah.
we should maybe consider more fast playing when it's a mergey range, when it's something that they're kind of doing this with either equity driven type hands or value type hands.
Yeah, I think it really depends on your position. I think position is really important in the situation. Especially when you're playing full stacks. And I think that having the positional advantage allows for you to call slow play in this case. But you can make an argument for raising because this is obviously the only draws here where I'm blocking, which are the spades. I mean, you can make an argument for. I think it really comes down to I think it really comes down to what your position is. I think if you're out of position, you want to fast play at a higher frequency, but when you're in position, you can slow play.
And this is pretty dry, or disconnected, I should say.
Yeah,
So there's not a lot of natural bluffs.
no, there aren't. Um,
Reclick, reclick, Dean.
yeah, reclick is fine.
Yeah.
I think that's good too. Um, Melly, what do you want to do? It's your hand.
Since we're in position, I would just call this.
Yeah. Okay. P3's mind melding with you. Okay. Pretty well, yeah, I would say this is a pretty bricky turn. Now, see, this is kind of the way you ask stuff that we've seen. We've seen this twice already today. This he well, let's go over ranges. Now, when he checks, what can we eliminate from his range? Well, I think he's gonna have a lot less nines. And he limped calls, so he could have threes. He's gonna have a lot less nines and threes now, right? He's gonna have. I would give him more flush draws now that are playing kind of poorly. I would give him a lot less two pair. I would give him some weak ace X that we're dominating. I would never give him queens. So anyway, let's see what he does. So he checked. What would you like to do now?
So given that there could be a potential for flushes, I think the bet size should try to push him out.
Okay.
So I would go anything between 75% and slightly over pot.
Okay. He checks back. So I think it's easy to do this here because I think it's sometimes we get a little bit scared of these check raises, and I wonder if it kind of serves a purpose here for him in the sense that he is, for lack of a better word, he is scaring button here a little bit with his check raise. And so he is it's kind of working because he's kind of having more chance to generate his equity here. I'm sorry, to realize his equity. So let's see what happens on river. So he chose to check. I think your bet idea is the preferred choice, Melanie. But we get here. He out of position checks again. What are you doing now?
I don't know. I mean, if I would be doing this in actual play, if I would be playing this hand, I would think that the check raise means something. So maybe he does that with like flush draws, even if maybe he shouldn't. So I don't know. I would be careful. So in reality, I would probably bet small and try to take it away that way. But I would be really unhappy about a re-raise, and then I would fold, and then I would beat myself up. So maybe I should
We all
just
would.
bet, yeah, because like there's also this thing about rivers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have it and if you don't have it, you should, if it's a polarized range, then they should both have the same bet size. Otherwise, I'm giving away my hand from my bet size. So I should be going bigger because I would
Yeah.
be doing it if I would have the flush.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument for mimicking. You don't really have, well, you got an important card here, right? You're blocking the flushes with the back doors. I mean, he may have back doors in his range, but let's see what he does here. Yeah, he chooses your size. He chooses this. He's got a cap range. He's choosing a small size. However, this is kind of opening him up to a check raise. Let's see what happens here. But he gets a crying call from queens.
Okay.
And he wins a pretty sizable pot. I would choose a bigger bet size here. I think he's super capped. I mean, so you're gonna have someone who, let me see. So we call the check raise. There's check on turn. The backdoor comes in. He doesn't bet. There's also any five is obviously straight. When he doesn't bet, I think he's really capped. I think this is an obligatory value bet, and I would go bigger. I would go like B20, B25, and I would probably fold to shove. But I think
I would
the
go at
one
least
thing we've
half
seen in
pot.
solvers in the past is that oftentimes the solver will play, I don't know if it does it on this texture, but oftentimes the solver will play a pretty aggressive bet size with ace king because it's getting value from so many other ace X, weaker ace X with a worse kicker. And obviously on this run out, kicker is going to play. So I would choose a bigger sizing. Anybody else have any opinions here about sizing?
So I remember you lot saying in the past about not reopening in a position like this unless it's half pot or bigger, because you are inducing a check raise, and you might be in a situation where you can't call that check raise. Where if you open half pot, you're playing for value, right? But also if they do check raise, you know, a half pot bet, they're showing more strength that you might not be beating. Was that right?
Yeah, I think we've talked about that. We actually have called it before the Affleck rule. I don't, which is essentially you really need to consider if it's worth it betting a size smaller than half because you're reopening the action, and the question is the risk reward there, right? You're trying to get a call from a very large part of villain's range, which are also opening yourself up to being check raised. Not only because of the sizing, but just because you're reopening the action and you're not really asking for a lot in return. You're making a small bet. I generally don't think it's worth it. I mean, a couple of situations where I'd do it is if I had a top of range hand and a situation like this where I thought the opponent was very capped, I would consider it, but I wouldn't do it with this hand. It's just you have to think about risk reward. You're risking a check raise for a very small reward in sizing. So, all right, let's go to the next hand. Okay, let me see, Mike, Dean, Derek, Richie, one of you guys want to do a hand?
I've just joined, so I'm happy for someone else to jump in. I literally only joined for that last street, so whoever's been here longer can go before.
Okay.
Derek, if
I
you
think
want.
it's you because Derek has not come off mute.
Yeah, no worries. I'll go then.
All right, man. You
I've
take this
literally only
one.
just joined, so what are we doing? Sorry, is it
So we are
just
doing, yeah, no worries. So we're just going through hand. Oh, Derek's back.
Yeah,
Derek can go then, and then
Yeah,
I'll
Derek,
see
you
what
want
we're
you want to
doing.
go over this hand?
sure. Jack 10 suited I
So
kind of hate.
say it again.
I hate Jack 10 suited early position,
Yeah, it's very difficult to play.
I think you can play it, but
Yeah, I think you're supposed. I think it's an open. You're supposed
yeah,
to play it.
yeah. So I'm opening 2.5 here.
Okay. Sixes are. What are you doing with
Sixes,
sixes?
sixes you can call here. I like to call small pairs if I think that the people will stack off when I hit a set.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, I think it depends on three things.
Yeah. So if I
Do you
think that
think
the
people
opener
will?
will stack off for me and there's
Yeah,
sufficient stack sizes, then I'll call with small pairs here.
I think Ray gets into this conversation too. Maybe at
Yeah.
higher rakes, you're incentivized to take this down.
Yeah. So like high rake, you don't want to do this kind of shit, but
Yeah,
I play with no rake. Just
yeah.
session
So if you're
games.
playing like a time game, I think flatting's fine, especially if you
Gonna
don't think
call
you can get
here.
squeezed at a high frequency behind. You'll be able to see a
King
flop.
Jack, I can't hit the muck fast enough.
So now, I think flatting sixes is really worth it once you get another flat.
King Jack is a fold though.
King Jack is a full fold, but now you are
So
13% to hit a set multi-way, which is pretty valuable.
I think that calling King Jack here is a blunder.
I would describe this as a very bad play.
Yeah.
I think it's a fold. I don't think it's good enough to even squeeze, really.
Yeah. I agree. Fold it.
So
And
four
you get
plays rewarded. That's why we're here.
rewarded.
It's gonna be an interesting hand. So you jack 10, and you've got this flop, and you got two people behind you flatted. What are you doing?
Second pair and second nut draw. I think you can bet it.
Say it again.
A second, like flush draw to the second nuts and a second
Yeah.
pair. I'm betting here all day, every day.
Okay. That's cool.
Half pot.
Anybody else doing anything with betting on the call?
check range quite a bit, but this is a flop that I think you can conceivably c bet with a lot of your range. I would not probably choose this hand to do it, but probably not terrible.
Yeah,
So,
I think I would
what's your
probably check
thoughts
here.
on why would you check it here?
Out of position, multi-way.
Yeah.
I'm just checking like almost like I said, I'm probably almost range. I probably would be playing this as a pure check no matter what my hand is.
Really?
Yeah.
Because out of position multi-way, you're checking your range here.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
I would probably check here as well. My argument for checking would be I'm gonna learn a lot about their hand value. I mean, I know I can pretty much call anything, but I want to know a little about the value of the hand. And when we check out a position like this, we're gaining information about where people are in their range and how well this flop hit them. With this hand, I think it's valuable as well. I think we might see a check raise here actually on flop, but we'll see. So I mean, we go back to the Jonathan Jaffe rule that, and also this is kind of a unique situation, EP versus middle position. Kind of an awkward spot. And Jaffe always, his argument is check and get information when you're multi-way.
What?
So he checks.
Check and gain information. Okay, yeah.
And then let's see what size he uses. So he uses a half size. Okay, so if you checked here and you got this B50, what are you doing now?
We have enough to call, I think.
I think we just call.
We think Jack's
There it
our
is.
best
Got, he
race.
found his check raise. Not
Oh,
only that, he found his check
no, I
raise.
kind of hate that.
Found his check raise. Pretty aggressive sizing.
I hate the check raise.
Yeah,
We have
I
a
don't know
small
if
pot. We want to keep us like we want to keep us. We want to keep the pot size as small as we can.
yeah. Well, I mean, the argument for not, I mean, I can see check raising just like a ace high flush draw or a combo draw, like ace 10. Like ace 10 of spades would be really interesting,
Oh, ace ten of spades is amazing.
but I
'Cause it
think,
adds more, three more
I don't know,
queens.
what do you guys think? I think this hand has got marginal showdown. I don't
We don't
know
want
if
to
I
bloat
want to
the
check raise
pot.
this.
This
It's
is
just,
a
it makes
one.
us hard. It might make it harder for us to realize our equity. I mean, the old school is that we go crazy with pair plus draw, which is what this is. This is actually very similar to the hand I showed that I played live.
I kind of hate it. I hate the check raise.
Yeah, I think this is not quite what we want to do. Maybe I'm influenced by seeing the hand, but let's see what happens.
Sixes, get out of here.
So this is a real question. You
So we
got
got
king jack here. What do you do?
you got 39 behind.
So
Like
your
after we
pot's
call
30
the
right now,
pot
31,
sizes. After we
and you
call,
got 80 behind.
yeah. So pot size of 1 to 2.
SPR is 80,
Yeah.
30,
Yeah, we're
like
getting
2.5.
Yeah, 1 to 2.5. So we can call here, or we can shove it in.
Yeah. I think I fast play.
Yep, shove it in.
Yeah.
I think I
Let
just
it sit.
fast play here. I mean, so this is the opposite of what well, this is exactly what I said. I said before, the portion of my range that I'm gonna fast play is two pair.
I
What do you guys think?
Because we're
Yeah.
thinking if he had a set of jacks, then fine. Or a set of fives, then fine.
Which we blocked the jack.
Yeah, you're blocking all
We're
his
only
top
playing a
end
high
value
range,
kings and
so
jacks.
shove it in. Does he shove it in?
I don't, let's see.
They seem to
So
make the worst play on every opportunity, I think.
Mike, what would you do here?
Yeah, like I was just saying, we do block his top end. He can have kings and jacks, but we're blocking that pretty heavily.
Only one combo.
Um,
So
and
there's fives
we
there.
have top two. I don't know. I think I can go either way with it. I'm not sure what I would do. I think I can
Yeah,
call. I could
Yep.
three bet it.
yeah.
Call or
I
three.
think you can do either here. I would prefer, but I think if I'm going to designate any part of my range to fast play in position, I think it's two pair.
I
So he clicks it.
whoa.
Mhm.
The
Clicking
old clicky. So we get.
clicking serves no purpose whatsoever.
So this is where I think we can learn a lot in these situations, like a lot for in game, because we can easily compare pot odds to equity. Like, so we know we've got a lot of equity, right? With middle pair and a flush draw. He could have a better flush draw, of course, but we can see our pot odds are being offered 22%, and we've got 36% equity. So I wonder if there's an argument for shoving to realize equity.
I think we have no fold equity since he clicked it back.
Yeah, I don't think I think the argument for shoving is that we want to make sure we want to see two cards.
Like I don't think we have any any fold equity at this point.
No, I don't think we have any full equity either.
So there's no point in shoving. Call
Okay.
and see if we hit our hit our flush.
Okay, let's see who
problem-
does.
Yeah, the problem with shoving as well, right, is you're shoving assuming that you have the stronger flush, I guess, where you might not even have the stronger flush.
Yeah,
So,
you might have the worst flush draw with this, you're right.
I think calling is the best way to and then reevaluate, right?
I hate the plays of everyone here. I hate the way they're playing. I never think this way.
Well, wait till you see one of Mike's hands. It'll be a beautiful play for sure. Okay, he chooses to shove. He's clearly going to call off. Let's see what happens. He gets there. All right. I think everybody's had a hand now. Wait, no, Richie, you're next, right?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay.
The positive with shoving, right, is when you do hit it, then they might not slow down and you've just cashed in, but then you're gambling of obviously, do you have the higher hand or not, right? Because if you
Yeah,
don't
I guess
shove,
the
there is
value
a
of shoving
chance.
is that you
Yeah.
realize your equity.
And if they call, then and you win it, right? Where if you hit it and you've only called, they could slow down and you not get full pot. But it's the case of you
Yeah, I
always
think
get
that.
called by worse, right?
Yeah, and Derek's right. We don't have any. When he clicks like that, and we've got that SPR, there's no fold equity here. I mean, very rarely you're gonna have fold equity. All right. So this is your hand. Hero probably is gonna fold.
Yeah, I would say P1 opens and then big blind should probably three bet.
Yeah, I think.
But you
caught up.
can
I think
call,
you
right?
can mix.
I would say, I don't know. I would, depending on the players, I would probably three bet.
Yeah,
Against
I
this
would.
position, earlier position, I would probably call. Against this position, I'd probably three bet.
Yeah, I think you can go either way. I generally, frankly, will call here. There's an argument that you're gonna throw up more against bigger sizing, but see what happens. C calls. And we get this flop.
Because of the
Check.
call, yeah, I was going to say because of the call, you check it back, and leave it with the aggressor.
Yeah. So you've got, so in theory, I think this texture. You can get a lot of C bets here. What would you like to do here, though? Your P1. Richie, you've gone on mute.
Sorry, I thought I clicked unmute then. I would probably continue small size here. It's tough because obviously it's straight and flushy, straighter on the lower end, right? Is in for a draw, so it favors the big blind more than you. In that regard. So if you're continuing, I would go small.
I would bet small here too, I think. He chooses small sizing.
Yeah.
Does he choose?
So
Can we get a gangster check raise here for P7? He's very gangster if he check
it
raises.
is a bit, right? It's not right.
There it
There's the
is.
yeah, there's the backdoor flush and the backdoor straight. So it's not a terrible one to check raise, right?
Backdoor flush, backdoor straight, and then over. And
Yeah. I think it's a reasonable check raise because it's, as I say, so they have the nut advantage, the bit blind, where obviously P1 has the range advantage. So yeah, I don't hate it. I think it's reasonable. As being check raised in this situation, it's not nice, but I would at least call a street here for this sizing as well. And then reevaluate on the turn with the king jack.
yeah, this is a pretty gangster check raise. I don't think I'm finding this on a king high board.
Yeah, it's I don't think I find it, but when you think about it, it's a very reasonable check raise. It's not what I would
Yeah,
say
you're
just
right. I
being
mean,
done blind, right?
You got two backdoors and an over. It seems not horrible.
Yeah.
But let's see what happens. I would describe that as a very bricky turn.
It's a brick for both players, right? But the big blind still has the net advantage, and being the aggressor can continue on that card, I would say. I think
This
that's
is where
hard
it gets
fine for them to
tougher. Like
continue.
this is where check raise strat gets tougher.
Definitely.
What turn cards do you continue with? What turn cards do you slow down?
So they haven't got any more equity with their actual hand, but for their range, this is still reasonable, I would say. And I would say, being the big blind here now, that you could continue on this if you want to continue the bluff, right?
Yeah.
And put the imposition in a tough decision.
Well, let's put ourselves in P1's shoes here for a minute.
Yeah.
So you get this check raise. And you got king jack. You're not folding, but let's begin to arrange what his. I would never arrange him on this, but so I'm going to give him like obviously
Threes, twos,
sets,
4,
right?
5.
Threes and twos are most obvious.
Flush draws.
4 or 5 of clubs would be obvious. Any kind of flush draw, any kind of ace X club, like ace 4, ace 5 clubs would be obvious. This is quite a stretch. I'm very curious if he's gonna. Okay, so gets this. I'm curious if he's gonna continue. He does. He's going
Nice.
for it.
Nice. I don't hate to
Somebody
continue
turn
here.
that off. I can't hear you.
Is where the excitement of this mystery bounty tournament.
Scotty.
No, I didn't say it again. I didn't hear you, Dean. Dean, you're on mute. Okay.
Oh, somebody's playing something. I can't hear.
Well, I don't hear anything.
After the last the felt today, we'll be down to
It's coming through your mic, Dean.
Yeah, it
Just
might
a
be on
heads
your
up.
side. Are you playing a video in the background? Yeah, it's gone now. It might be on.
remember the
It's not on my side. It's weird. I'm not even watching anything.
Well, it goes away when you go on mute, Dean. So. that's all I
And
can
when
tell
you're
you.
unmute, it has a green box around your name as
Oh,
well.
weird. It was fucking ACR poker popped up with some random thing.
Oh, I've seen it do that. Yeah, I hate that stuff. Okay, so he makes his big bet. Your P1.
Yeah, this is tough to call as P1, right? You would be doing this on a bit, I guess, of what information you have on that player, deciding if you. I think this is mixed between calling again and just folding here. I don't think you're ever raising with this aggression. Well, you're never raising with this aggression, I would say, because if you believe they're bluffing, you're going to keep on letting them bluff into you. If you're unsure, I think you can still call, potentially fold. And then obviously if this player is usually quite tight, doesn't usually do anything like this, obviously.
Yeah.
Then I would say you pretty much fold, right? And just accept that they might have been bluffing you as a tight player.
So the way I would look at this, and you guys tell me if this makes sense, is how does the turn affect his bluffs, right? So his bluffs are clubs, his bluffs are around the wheel. It doesn't improve either of those, but he does have lots of sets of threes and sets of twos. I would say his most common value hand is a set of threes and set of twos here.
And he has also king three and king three suited probably.
Yeah,
King
I think
sometimes.
yeah, that's valid.
But I would probably not fold king jack here.
Yeah, I think you have to continue.
Also, ace queen I think has too much. It's has too much showdown value to bluff like this. I think you have better bluffs.
Yeah, he's chosen a gangster line. I mean, this is not one I find. He calls, so I would describe this as another brick river. This is bricky.
Yeah, everything missed.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
notice
Yeah.
also that his sizing is really good here. We can learn something from his sizing choices. So he chooses this size here. And then he makes this size. So he's making a size that gives us he's setting up perfectly. A pot size shove.
Yeah.
So it
I
feels
think
like
it's good.
this feels like a very, very aggressive
So
and foreign player.
yeah, and obviously if they're going for the triple barrel bluff with what you could class as another brick card on here, they're just purely representing probably sets at this point with their bluff. You know, maybe a two pair, but they're just
Yeah.
bluffing that they have a set pretty much, right?
Yeah. Do you think,
It'd
so
be interesting to see if they do it. Again, they might be, depending on what both of the players have on each other, they might be either or of them making adjustments based on their opponents, right? So
yeah,
I don't think I would find the bluff here, but it
I
wouldn't.
think I would give up.
Yeah, I think so. But
But
I can understand bluffing here based on what they've done so far. Their
one thing to
bet
keep in mind
sizing.
is that on ignition, no one knows anyone. So you can assume this is all unknowns. But yeah, this is a very I think let's see if he goes for it. He does, he goes for it. King Jack is uncomfortable and a pure bluff catcher. So I mean, if we're P1, what do we think about now? Let's go through our bluff catching. Checkpoint is the first question I would ask myself here is
So the
do you
good
beat
thing about
value?
bluff, yeah, the good thing about the bluff catcher here is right, straights have missed, flushes missed, you know, so that
Yeah.
increases your ability to bluff catch, I would say. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
you don't beat obviously value from a two pair or sets point of view. Likely representing sets more than two pair with this play, or bluffing, as we can see, a draw. So yeah, you don't beat value, but
So arguably you're representing a very, very condensed range, right? You're representing just a couple cards. So you're not supposed to have 3-2 suited here. Some people will. You're not supposed to have king 3 here, but suited, but some people will. You're representing threes and twos. So I think that's 6 combos of cards. Our hand is a pure buff clutcher. We're never beating value.
Also, you're not blocking his ace x bluffs, so I think you have to call this.
And that's a good point. You're unblocking ace X. The other question I'd ask myself here is this a bluffy line over 33% of the time? All right, you're essentially being given 33% pot odds. And I would say this is an under bluff line, but I think the run out is very bricky. And I don't think I'd be able to get away from how none of his bluffs got there. I don't know what I'd do here, frankly. Let's see what our P1 does. He gets the fold. Gangster works.
Yeah.
Huh,
I would have called.
that is one hell of a play. Shout out to P7.
I don't find
I'm-
that. I don't
I
find
mean,
that
I
a play.
No, I'm not finding it either. I feel like P7 is very much, this feels like a really good player. But maybe that's just because it worked.
One thing
the
to
thing
say,
I-
obviously, we don't have much information on these players, even if you were one of these players, because it's ignition, but it's not a Zoom table, so you can build up information, right?
Yeah, you
Based on how
can,
long
you're
they've
right.
been
You
up for
can build
that.
it, you're totally right. You can build up information over the,
P1 also had a broken stack, so P7 could be using that against them. It wasn't a full stack, I believe.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
valid. That's a good
Um,
point.
So they could also feel like they could bully them off with, you know, marginal hands, which obviously they can't see, but turned out they had.
What a bet
You know,
here.
this could be based on some information, just a bit of an exploit as well. It's a bit of a loose thing, loose triple barrel, but it's not the loosest, right? They started their barrel bluff with some form of equity, hit no further equity on it, but the
Yeah.
cards that came out also probably didn't hit the P1 and they're aware of that. So I think you know, it's a low end triple bluff, like a low, what's it called? Not a
Low
low
frequency.
population. Yeah, low frequency triple bluff. But I don't think it's completely a spurt in your money triple bluff if this player is a strong one.
Yeah, you're right. And also, I get back to his sizing. His sizing is really good. I mean, we can kind of look at this and say, okay, so if we put in, let's say bet 20, we put in, let's just round it up, 20, 40, 65. He's making a pot size bet. I mean, he's setting up a pot size. I mean, one thing we can do in game is understand that he's setting up a pot size shove. So it's kind of like we can, in our head, anticipate it a little bit when we're playing and we're in P1. I think we're really indifferent here. That's a very interesting hand. Okay, we'll move on. All right, everybody's had a hand. Let's go to the top. Maybe I'll take a hand. All right. Okay. Yeah, I definitely take this hand because we got aces versus queens. So queens should fold out of queens. And then aces should three bet queens generally I think call here. Playing in position against a three bet from big blind. We might get, I mean, so in theory, big blind has a very polarized three betting range. So, but I think queens generally call here. But we may get some crazy ass limps. Let's see what happens. Queens open. Ah, this is not going the way we thought. This is a gangster play. I don't know if this is kind of a little bit beyond. I don't think he's supposed to do this. Yeah, this is good. This is actually, I'm incorrect. This is a
I was
fine.
about to say, I think this is in the range queen suited against cut off.
Yeah.
I think it's in.
So, I have aces here. I'm gonna call it 4. I have an idea about the size I'm gonna use. What size would you guys use here?
I think I'll go
I think I'm
24.
gonna
29, 30, something like that. 30.
think I'm gonna go a little smaller. I think I'm gonna go like 20. I think I want to go 20 here. Maybe 25. So he's gonna use hero is using this is our hero with aces, by the way. Yeah, hero uses 17, which I think is kind of an exploitative size and fine with aces. He's trying to bring these guys in.
Well,
Queens are in a very,
think about the
very
stack size of player 2 there.
that's a good point. Good point. Queens are in a very interesting spot here. I don't think we get to fold. Let's see if what we're supposed to do here. Can you guys see the solver?
Yep.
Alright, so we had what we cut off raise. Button put a raise in. Big blind, cold 4, 21. In theory. Queens are, yeah, so queens are. First thing to think about is we never have calls here, in theory, right? Queens is just supposed to shove. And mix in some weird raising. I'm blocking what the raise size is. Where's it? Raise to 40. So I think we could probably just get rid of that. I mean, it's doing that because it wants to be able to raise to 40 with aces. It wants to click back with aces. So it's balancing that by doing it a little bit with king queen suited and with queens. But I would not be entirely shocked if it wasn't just fine to make this a pure shove. So queen's supposed to shove here. Let's see what he does. Can you see the replay again?
Yep.
Okay. So what would I do? I wouldn't call. I think I'd probably just stick it in. Okay, yeah, he calls. Not surprising. This is suicide.
Oh,
Um, well, this is
so I don't think it's ever good to like 5-bet queens or something like that.
what would you do with queens here, Jack?
Like if you have queens and you're playing live, then you raise. You get re-raised. You 4-bet queens.
Well, you're actually facing a cold 4. So
Yeah,
you raised. You raised here.
yeah, yeah.
You get 3-bet. Then you face a cold 4. I think
Like
in theory, it's doing a lot of it's not, there's no flats here in theory because you don't want to take this multi-way. And when you flat, you're allowing the third person to call,
yeah, but is queens you're in your
and
5-bet
that's diluting
range
your equity.
The
when you
problem
play live?
is
Go
the
ahead,
problem
Tara.
the problem is that his called for betting range probably has 0 bluffs, and if he had bluffs, it would be ace queen and ace 5 suited, I guess.
Yeah, good
And
point. So let's
zero
talk
bluff.
about what this is his code 4 range. And in reality, no one has this code 4 range.
So this is the cold 4 range that you're supposed to have according to GTO.
Yeah, according to GTO,
Okay.
when cutoff raises, button 3-bets, this is the cold 4 range, which is 5% of hands, and no one is having this.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing it with jacks or ace jack suited or king jack suited. Possibly with king queen and ace queen, which you're blocking.
It's
And
this range. I think generally it's this range here.
Yeah,
I agree. So
It's not these.
ace 8,
These are gonna,
king
if
10
anybody,
suited.
what's gonna happen, I think, in reality is that if anybody's gonna play these, they're gonna flat them out over a 3-bet, which you see a lot live.
Yeah,
Notice there's, in theory, there's no flats to a 3-bet. In theory, you either called for it or you fold. So, and as Tara pointed out, this range it just doesn't possess any ace 8, doesn't possess any ace queen off. People are gonna flat it mistakenly. So you can argue that because of that, you can argue that cutoff's range here, oops, raise, cold 4. You could argue you cut out queens and fold queens here.
yeah.
Maybe even fold ace king off.
When you get
Good.
cold 4, I don't like ace king off. I don't like queens.
No, it's kind of a tough
I'd be fine
situation.
folding queens, folding ace king off.
Yeah. So he's gonna flat, which I think generally, I think we can agree. In theory, the mistake. I don't. I don't think it's a good play either. You just want to let this guy in. I think either shove or fold. queens here,
So
depending on what you
obviously,
know
if
about big blind.
if you're moving from GTO and you're presuming the big blind is not playing the range and his 4-bet range is a lot tighter, then I agree it's probably a fold. But funny thing is, GTO Wizard actually released a video about 2 weeks ago about top 3 mistakes low stakes players have, and that is kind of reaffirming that they have a tighter 4-bet range. So because most people aren't 4-betting enough, you could increase your 4-betting more to get the folds, right? Because if people
makes
believe
sense,
that
yeah.
everyone else is playing 4-bets tighter, you can loosen your 4-bet range to obviously steal pots.
Yeah, loosen your cold 4 range. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I saw
Yeah,
that
so
video. I didn't
cold
watch the
4-bet
whole
more.
thing.
It was really good, really interesting. Recommend it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and look at it. I definitely have increased my squeezing range here. I have squeezed bluffs here when we have this late position, but I don't have very many cold 4 bluffs, but it makes total sense. So we get a flat, which I think is a mistake because you're now, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna go multi-way. You're essentially set money now. And aces get quite a nice flop. So. Oh, I'm taking this hand, aren't I? I'm doing this hand. Okay, I've got aces a multi-way and I've got a dream flop. Bar sets. My SPR is less, well, yeah, my SPR is less than 1. I think I go really, I think I turn this into a 2-street game. I like a 2-street game here. So if I
The
bet
what game?
a 2-street game, so a 2-street game. Thanks, Richie. 2-street game would mean I'm going to bet flop, shove river. I'm sorry, bet flop, shove turn. So if I bet 15 here, I get 1 caller. We're there. So I think I bet 15 here, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, like
I
I
would
don't
go
want to
even.
call with this hand. Maybe I bet 20. I think I
I
bet
would bet
20 because I don't want as
10.
dramatic a SPR on turn when I shove. Well, I'm sorry. I was in. So go ahead.
I would bet 10 because it's multi-way and you can get a shove from the short stack. The board is very dry. I think you just want to bet range and small. Like I would go less than
Yeah, I think
30%.
that's fine. I mean, it would be from getting a shove from the short stack here with like 10s, 9s. That would be good. I can see going small too. But I think I would. I would bet about 15 or 20 here and shove pretty much every turn.
I think 20 is way too much.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I can see your point. Hero Hero's gonna take a different line. Go hero. He's gonna check. Let's see if he gets what he wants from the queens. He does. Queen essentially has made pot committing size here. Get the fold. I think it's fine to shove here. He kind of pot committed himself, but not knowing it. Pot's 80. It's essentially, you're gonna make a pot size shove here. Yeah, this is fine. Well played, hero. You get what you wanted.
Queen shows up. No.
Nice hand, sir. Hey, Mike, so let's talk about your thought process here, because I like your play and it's not one that I thought of. Are
Yeah.
you with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is your thought process here with the checks?
Like you said, probably just a 2-street game. If I don't do it now, I'll be able to have another 2 streets after this. So it's either 2 streets on the flop and the turn, or it's 2 streets on the turn and the river. And because of the short stack, I think
Yeah,
you have a really good chance of just getting it in here now. I got lucky and the queens made a really dumb size bet, I think, but
yeah, they
and the
did.
fact that he made it so big, I probably could have just flatted there either way, but he made it so big that I don't think he's folding anything.
Yeah. Yeah, so you kind of are in the same school as Tura, because Tura's taking a very small bet to induce a shove. And your check did induce a big bet from queens that anticipate they want protection from an ace or king, assuming you have ace king. Yeah, I like your play. And the reason I was asking is I just wouldn't think of it, and it's a fine approach. I mean, you need no protection, really dry flop. You know, sometimes there's sets, but so what? Yeah, it's a great play. I love it. All right. Um, Speaking of Mike, you want to take one?
Yep.
Okay. On to the
All right.
next.
King 10 is too early. I would open 10 jack here. Excuse me. I would open 10 jack, king, yeah, king, so we know we got a broken stack limper.
Yeah, it's an awkward spot.
Which would probably, I probably might reconsider 10 jack as a pure open from that position to uh, maybe not playing 10 jack suited to a limper. Yeah, I probably still would. I'd ISO because he's a little shorter stack. I would probably just make it either 3.5 or 4 now, whereas my typical or ISO size is 4.5, which is pot size. So I would ISO here.
Yeah, I think that's fine. He does.
Ace six, I would fold. Ace three suited, I would fold. I no, I wouldn't consider flatting on the button with a suited ace because of the short stack nature of the limper. So I would just fold the ace three, and then
Yeah,
fold
just
jack five, cold queen, fold queen two, and then king 10 shouldn't be here, but he's gonna call.
so let's look at the well, we can see who goes to showdown here.
Hit
And poor
rate.
play is rewarded. That's the way that poker works.
Yeah, I mean, king 10 should check and see what he does. He might donk. 10 jack, top pair, weak kicker, ISO'd and got called two places. I would probably just check here like he does.
Yeah.
And then a6. Yeah, I would just check there too, I think. So
Yeah. So he's just gangstering
he
it.
stabs at it after getting two checks, which probably isn't terrible. I wouldn't do it. You get
Now it's a very interesting spot for Jack 10.
yeah, if I'm Jack 10 now, I'm just folding.
I agree. I think you need more backdoor here. You don't have enough backdoor to call.
I
He clearly
mean,
does
if you have ace 10, I think you can fold. I think you could consider folding.
this action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's valid. This is a pretty nutted life choice here.
I'm trying to think of what my worst hand to call with. Maybe ace 10 is the worst hand that you can call with, and I would still consider folding it.
Yeah, I mean the interesting hand. I mean, yeah, and then I think you even would. I think you would definitely fold like Queen Jack Diamond, Queen Jack Spade, Queen Jack Heart. I don't think they have enough equity here to call. Um, yeah, this is kind of dumb. Um, so King 10 is kind of an interesting spot here, right? Because this is our
Well,
ISO or pre.
he only has like 16 big blinds behind, so I think he has to call.
Yeah, he's gonna call. And he's gonna lose. Okay, next hand. Um, Tara, you want to take one?
King queen off open, and sixes I would fold.
Yeah, sixes. I think folding sixes is fine. I might call depending on who's behind me and their three bet frequency. But I think in theory we're supposed to fold this. I think.
Yeah, there's some flats. I've been learning too that to the like in a like a nine max table, like a full ring type
Mhm.
situation, to the early raises, flatting when the players behind you aren't necessarily going to be super aggressive. Flatting the low pairs is actually pretty good in position like this to
I
the
kind of think you're right.
early
Um,
position raises.
yeah, especially if you get a lot of flats behind, all of a sudden your implied odds go up. Um, so we get a fold. Now you got ace queen here, and two flats, one from early position. What would you do with ace queen here?
Probably squeeze.
Yeah, it's probably a better squeeze than a flat. I mean, I think maybe you could flat more with like, let's take a look. I wonder if you have flats with the suited combo. Yeah, yeah, you're spot on. So we are calling, so this is all about implied odds, right? If you look
And
at
you know
this
what?
range, it's just a lesson in what we're flatting for implied odds.
Yeah, and you
Suited
know what's funny is if you take out the call from the button, that ace queen off becomes pure call.
question.
I think it's three betting small percentage. Pure call.
Yeah, ace queen is now. The
So
difference is ace queen, right?
notice how that squeeze that changes, right? When you get the flatter.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get the flatter and you got all this dead money, and these ranges are built with no flop, no drop, so no rake taking pre-flop, you're incentivized. But then all these implied odds hands become very interesting.
28 or 29% at some point later this year. So the duties on self.
Okay, so let's see what queens do. Queens,
Ace queen.
I'm sorry, ace queen. Okay, so here we go to the flop. Everybody misses. We can assume that you get a check. You got king queen here, and you've got two people in front. What are you doing?
I would probably check. I would check a lot, and then see on the turn.
Yeah, I would check here and get some information. He checks. Um, Sixes, I would check back. What do you think?
I agree.
So this is very common, that he's gonna stab. We see stabs here all the time. He uses a big check. You know, in theory, there's no there aren't these big sizes. So I don't think you have ace queen here, but I think ace queen definitely is going to fold.
Yeah, and king queen should fold too. I think to this size.
Yeah, to this size, I think you gotta fold. This is a very interesting call. I don't know. I mean, this makes sense more if you were in position. Out of position, it's very hard to. I think I would fold here if I chose to this
Oh
size.
God, yeah. In position and in the sandwich.
Yeah, you got all these.
I mean out of position and in the sandwich.
Yeah, you
Open
Yeah,
just
for
really
an
know.
ace. You're not happy if your queen hits.
Player 7 is still uncapped, so
Yeah, this is kind of an awkward spot. I think king queen. I think we can all agree is a fold. Oh, hello. So this is an interesting play.
I see.
All right, I'm not going to ask you what you do here because um I don't think we're ever doing this combo. But if you're facing this with and you have sixes, you got to fold. I think this is going to work. Ace queen just got to fold. I mean, let's talk about this play. Maybe we're. I don't. Is this play brilliant or is this play gangster suicide? I mean, I mean, you've got to assume that sixes is stabbing.
Yeah,
I
he
tried
uses
something
the
like
big
that on the
size
weekend.
though.
Yeah, against this big size. This is not. I think this is quite. This is. I mean, I mean, so let's talk about why maybe he's thinking about doing this. The one thing that comes to mind is that this texture is really dry. So, I mean, other than like 9-10, or maybe like king, maybe like queen 10 or
I
suited.
tried something like that when it flopped Jack, Jack, Deuce on the weekend because I figured they didn't have any jacks
Uh-huh.
and they just called down. so so I tried exactly this on the weekend and it didn't work at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, I would like this play with, I would make this play on a Jack Deuce Deuce board, maybe. Or like a little bit more, like you can see, I mean, it's very dry texture. I wonder if I would try this more on a very dry texture. I mean, nah, I don't know. I like a lot of stuff they have, I would be afraid would wrap around the jack and the eight. Like obviously, queen nine is in there sometimes, stuff like that. So anyway, gangster play, dude. All right, Dean, you want to take one?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So we're seeing some real gangster check raises. I can't help but wonder if this is a little bit about the nature of ignition, in that on ignition, you have no notes on anyone. So you can get away with, I think, a little bit. I don't know, maybe Mike has some thoughts about this, but it's like you can get away with a little bit more aggressive play because no one could take a note and say that you're an aggressive player.
I wonder if people don't mind folding as much either because they're like, oh, I can see tomorrow. There's none of that like mystery behind it as much.
Yeah. Mike, you just
Ever.
play on ignition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I don't know if I don't have really any comment on if I've seen it, if I think there's more of it because of that reason, I don't know.
yeah. Okay, Dean, you got ace jack, two,
Yep.
four, and you're playing
Open.
seven-handed. What would you like to do?
Open ace jack.
Yeah, get to
And
open
then
it.
fold to the hero.
There we go. Okay, now we're gonna get a value. This is the only value check raise we've seen, I think. So hero, it's going to check, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have ace jack here, are you betting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm betting on this.
I bet king high flops a lot.
Yeah, I think generally bet king high flops. I think I would choose what's well, let's see what just he choose the small size and hero should fast play. He makes the right play here. I'd go to like six, maybe seven. What do you think?
Yeah, like six, good. Maybe seven, yeah. Ooh, big. Nice. I like it.
Get in there, hero. Hero's like, you gotta, you don't. And he's generally falls. So yeah, I like this. This plays fine. I think you're very top of range. You've got 95% equity. You can do whatever you want.
I am curious about the sizing though, like because this came up in another hand earlier. We saw a king low board like this, and I heard some comments that it's a highly c-bet board. And we've seen this in the past. The king low boards actually for king high boards get checked a lot. Like there's a very high percentage of checking compared to
Okay.
say king 8-3 or king jack 3 or whatever. The king low boards have a much higher frequency check as
Okay.
opposed to c-bet.
So you get more C bets on like a king Broadway board. I would
Yep.
assume like a king Broadway
Yeah, two
rainbow board.
broadways and a low card, or like a king 8-3 even. But these king low boards specifically get checked back a lot.
Is that because against big blind? Is that because the wheel's available?
I'm not really sure. I think you can maybe attribute it to they're going to have the big blind's going to have more of a not a nut advantage, but the range advantage isn't going to be as great for the
Okay.
in position player.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. All right, Melanie
But I'm
still out
not
there?
yet. But yeah, I'm not sure about if this pot size raise here is better or if you should be check raising with a smaller size.
Yeah, I think when you, my argument would be when you've got this much equity, I don't think we need to sweat it. I think um, I think either's fine. You're gonna get called sometimes, you can get folded sometimes. You could argue that his king X and let's say his like flush draws are um not really flexible to bet sizing. So because of that, this size is fine because he's not really sensitive to it. So he's gonna call with what he can call with, whether it's 6 or 10.
And I also wonder too, like, because I think a lot of us thought, king high boards, we should see bet, a lot. And so people do see bet that their range is going to be greater, then maybe we should be using a smaller size to that sort of, theory, as opposed to a solver might know they shouldn't be c betting as much. And therefore we get to use a large size because their c bets should be more value oriented.
Mhm.
I don't know. You want we
Yeah, that's valid. So if this is more of a range type bet board, we think population is range betting. Yeah.
So
I mean, I would say this is still fine because they're inelastic to sizing. So when they miss, they're gonna fold to 6 or to
well,
fold
but
to 10.
so here's the thing. Jason said last week. I heard from Jason. That's why Jason followed me. That Jason said that he and team have been doing the work for Margaret a couple months ago. Basically,
Oh, that's the real Scotty.
Hi, everybody.
The real Scotty's
Just here
here.
to say bye. The flight's about to take off. Have fun.
All right, thanks, Scotty. We'll get back to the fake Scotty. Okay, so get the fold. Sad face. Melanie, do you want to take one?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Melanie,
Uh,
I don't know how this hand is going to, I would imagine, well, what do you think?
well, I think it should fold to the small blind.
I think queen 5 is in there.
Yeah, queen 5 can raise.
Yeah,
Queen
I think we're gonna see a queen 5 RFI here. I think in theory you're supposed to RFI all of your suited queens on button.
Yep.
Small blind is going to fold.
And then, yeah, we're gonna get flat here. Oh,
But isn't this the
yeah.
same problem that we discussed earlier with the kicker problem?
This is different because it's you're not facing. You had a limp. I think the other one, Melanie, was there
Limp
was a
and a raise.
limper and then an ISO to 5, and then you had king 10 off in the big blind. So this one you're defending a single open,
Yeah.
and you
Okay.
actually, in theory, are going to want to 3-bet this at a decent clip too.
Yeah, so this is different because you have you don't have the same action in front of you. You have a very this should be about 45% of hands, I think. So you're able to defend a lot wider.
Okay.
So wow, this will be interesting. I assume you're checking in big blind here.
Yep.
So you flopped a really good flop. What size are you using here? Are you checking back?
As the big blind, I'm checking back.
Okay, are you checking? And then it goes to button. So now it's on button.
Button, yeah.
Oh,
More.
yeah, I think this size is fine.
Yeah.
Now does he check raise here? Oh, now it gets interesting. So he
Okay.
check raises. I don't really think that you do this a lot. Essentially he's saying, I'm folding. anybody use this play on this call?
I wouldn't
Is that
use
what
the
that-
play, but they're either saying they have a queen or sevens, right, of some
Yeah.
sort with this. But
I
with either
I
of
mean, he
those,
does have
you probably
backdoor
wouldn't do it.
equity. This is a really. I'd like to. I don't ever make this play, but I'm curious if anybody makes this play.
I think this is worse than the ace queen check raise we had earlier because it's less
Yeah.
equity and more narrow range you're representing. So yeah, I don't think I would do this. They have some equity, but yeah.
I
And
mean,
it'd
I
be interesting to
don't
see how
want
it
to
plays out.
ever say that this is a suicide check raise or it's a dumb play because I don't think I'm good enough to understand where all the check raises come from. But I mean, so he's blind. So this
Well,
is wide range versus wide
if
range.
if you wanna check raise a queen, then you need bluffs, and I think it's a fine bluff.
Okay, yeah, okay. I could see that because you got backdoor equity. You're blocking king, queen. You're blocking queen 10. It's a rainbow board. I think if, yeah, okay. We are seeing. Mike, you're against a tough pull here, man, sometimes. Okay, so getting back to you, Melanie. Sorry. You're on P4. You've got you bet small, you get check raised. I assume you're not folding. What would you look to do here?
Hmm. Um, the first thing that I would probably think is what are the odds that he has sevens?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, those odds are not really that big.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's 3 combos of 7.
yeah, so I would just, well, either re-raise or call and get more money in.
So I would argue for calling here because when you raise, you're never folding out better. You're only folding out worse. So I think in a situation like this, you're highly motivated to, in any situation where you anticipate you're never getting called by worse if you raise,
But maybe,
and you're only getting called by better, I think that your only answer is to call.
yeah, I would also call, but given that there's so many players out there who do such interesting moves, maybe they would even call a re-raise because they're not leaving.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Let's see what he does. Yeah, he calls. We go to a. So if I were you, I would also be very concerned about sevens. But
I would also be concerned I'm against a better queen.
yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty innocuous turn. So he gives up. What are you guys doing with the queen? Melanie, what are you doing with the queen now?
So he checked. P6.
P6 checked.
Yeah. Now I would be concerned about him having a 10. But I have 2 pairs, so I would probably go for half pot maybe.
Yeah, so I think with your trips here, I think Tara makes a very good point about being up. I don't think he's ever. I mean, so the only hand I think he's ever trap checking here is Queen 10. Which
Yeah.
just boated up. I think other than Queen 10.
So we
Um,
want, yeah, so if we have trips and he might have hit 2 pair, then we want to have a bet sizing that keeps him in.
yeah. I mean, I think with your combo, I think I would bet small. I agree with what you're saying here. And I would have obviously puke to a check raise. So he checks. So P4, he or she is concerned, has the concerns that Tara does, that he might have a better queen here, which is a reasonable concern. Well,
Nice.
don't we love that river? Especially when we can see the cards. So P6,
P6, well, they should be betting.
yeah. So I think P6, let's think about what range here. So when you check raise, you're saying you have a queen on a pretty rainbow texture. Button calls. You check. They check back. To me, this looks a lot like a pair. Like, this looks like aces, kings, jacks, maybe nines. So
I don't know. They would have raised that pre-flop, wouldn't they? That range. Do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what do you
pre-flop
mean?
it
What do
was
you mean
raised.
raise or pre-flop?
They would have. You're talking about the big blinds range now, yeah?
No, the
N-
buttons.
No, so I was talking about
Ah,
what the button
okay,
is,
sorry. Yeah,
because
okay,
I'm
sorry.
talking about what it looks like to king 10
I get you. I
here.
got the positions the wrong
Yeah.
way around. Yeah,
So
no, that
because
makes sense. Yeah, you
I'm trying to figure out if I was big blind, if I would value bet here.
I would block bet and fold to raise.
Okay. Melanie, we kind of co-opted your hand. I apologize. What would you do here?
No
If
worries.
you,
I really like your input. So yeah, P6 should bet.
yeah, I
Uh,
think you got a value bet when he's capped, yeah, I think you got a value bet when he's capped.
yeah, I don't know for how much. I mean, there's a possibility that there's a queen out there, which P6 doesn't have. So should be aware of that. Maybe a little bit on the smaller. If P4 re-raises, P6 should think about it. But yeah.
Yeah, so P6 now I think has to value bet, and I liked Tura's idea, which is this seems like a really good place to employ a blocker sizing.
What would that be? A blocker sizing?
So blocker sizing is going to be usually less than half, and usually, frankly, less than a third. It's like I think B25 would be the classic, so like a 5 big blinds. I would
Okay.
use between 5 and 7 if I was going to block bet here. Tora, what size would you use here for your block bet?
I always use bit 33.
Yeah, so like 7. I think B33 is fine. I'll use that. Let's see what he does here. I think you do have to value bet here because you have to get value. Because when he checks back turn, you can't give him a lot of queens. So he's got a lot of, I think he's got jacks, not sevens, eights, nines, kings even,
Yeah,
aces even.
the 8s and 9s are no good now.
Yeah, good point. Eights and nines are
But
counterfeit.
you might even get called by an ace high, I guess.
Yeah. So use this big sizing. Now you're on button. What would you like to do now, Melanie? You've got a boat. You lose to quad 10.
Well, I think P4 should put in more money, so maybe something between twice or thrice the amount.
So
Depending.
like 30 big lines you raise?
Yeah,
Here?
like 30 or even more, slightly more.
Okay. I could see that. I would probably go bigger. I've got the second nuts. Um, I would. I'm losing to one combo. And does anybody remember the name of the theory that says people can't fold a boat? There's a theory out
Yeah.
there that says humans are incapable of folding a boat. So when you have a bigger boat, you want to go big. I would shove here, probably. Actually, I would shove.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
me
about to
too.
say, I think Shevins here is a really good one.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens here. He kind of chooses your sizing. So when you get here and you see this sizing,
I would
it's
be
hard to know what's worse than your hand. I mean, this is like your boat is now a bluff catch. Melanie, if you had king 10 here, what are you doing?
um if this would be one of these online Zoom games and I would have literally 15 seconds to decide, I would call. If I could
Okay.
have more time to think about it, I would reconsider the possibility of p4 having a queen, and then I'm in really bad trouble. So
Yeah,
because if
I,
I
I don't I don't think he's ever bluffing, and he's not
yeah,
raising 10.
yeah, you got a pure bluff catcher, and this is a very unbluffed line. I think you fold. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's go. This is kind of an interesting hand. Let's just go over the sizing here again. He calls, that's fine. He chooses to check raise, gangster. He gets called. So at this point, he's got P4's got aces, kings, jacks, and
Sevens.
all queens. Maybe tens, maybe nines. Tens come. We've got showdown. We check. This makes sense. What is interesting is his check back, which makes sense because he doesn't like his kicker. Or she doesn't like his kicker. But now we triple up. This guy's capped. P4 button's capped. We use a big sizing. I wonder if you're using a big sizing here, which clarifies his range, right? If he uses a small sizing, it's gonna open him. There's gonna be more. There's gonna be a wider imposition raise range, but using this big sizing, he knows more clearly where he is. He uses this big sizing, he could fold. It's an interesting hand.
Yeah, I think as you said, right, because P4, the button checks the turn, going for the bigger size on the river makes sense because you're going for a bit more value, but if someone does raise you, they're pretty much telling you they have a strong hand. Is it a 10 that you split with, or is it a queen that you lose to? And I think it's a really reasonable play. If I was the queen 5, though, I would have probably small bet the turn, right, to either induce that to get more information, similar to the river play, where if they 3-bet you, you're like, okay, maybe they have a stronger queen than me. If they call me, they're capping their range, and it gives you a better indication of how to play the river. The only issue
Yeah,
with you doing this then is, right, you may not get them leading out on the river for you to bluff, but they would still potentially be in a bluff catching scenario where you're gonna be getting similar amounts to them bluff leading the river. I don't know. So my instinct, if I was Queen 5, I would have made a bet on the turn here, probably around 5 big blinds, 25% pot.
yeah, I think I would have made a small bet here too. I think the very top of his range is not slowing down. Like the very top of his range,
Yeah.
obviously sevens and like another queen. Um, sevens are never checking here.
Can you put it in a wizard?
Um, I do not have that anymore, actually. I cannot. Um, I broke up with the wizard. So I think a small size is good here. Mike, are you on the call? Do you want to put this in the wizard?
Yeah,
Any
do
interest?
that.
All right, I'll leave this up so you can see the. And let me know when you're ready, and I will.
Stand by. All right, I got a picture of it. If you want to go to the next one, I'll get it in.
Okay, so Mike is kindly going to enter that in. And while he's doing that, we'll just do the next hand. Does that sound like a good plan, Mike?
Sure.
Okay. Um, okay, so I don't know. Who wants to take this one? Dean, you want to do this one?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Chat. Oh,
2, 4, 6. You're 8-handed. I'll just fold it around to twos. What are you gonna do with twos here?
got raised. Jack.
Yeah,
You
you
bet.
can raise twos in the cutoff. 10-4
Oh.
is folding. I think this is a pure 3-bet.
Mm-hmm.
So let's anticipate. We'll see. We flats. Very
Oh.
naughty.
Wow. Okay.
So now we're going to a flop with a hand that shouldn't be there. And there we go. So
Keep it jack. Check.
and then twos now.
Bet.
Yeah, I think I would bet two. I mean, you're bottom of range. And who knows what a small blind flat is in cash. He's gonna go for it. Do we see a check raise here? We do. So this is kind of, this feels like a tilt, like pot entitlement tilt. He had a really good hand. He's upset that he got a bad flop. If you have twos, what are you doing?
I mean, Jesus, like a fold, but I mean, it's not a bad raise either. Maybe you need like a 2 of hearts to raise it back.
Yeah, it's interesting that he uses this is the, look at his size.
Mm-hmm.
He's using this where you at click back, which you've seen a bunch of times. I think this serves the purpose of folding out air, but your pot odds are so compelling.
Hey, you're not folding on a king, and like it's weird, really.
Yeah,
Like queens, that's
and you're in
really
position.
it. Queens is it.
I think with a 2 of hearts, I'm always calling to this click back. Because I've got
I'm
positional advantage. But I think I'm just gonna fold this. What do you think?
yeah, fold.
Yeah, I think you just gotta fold. Yeah.
'Cause even
It's a
if you
nice
hit a
play.
2, you're not happy. There could
It's a
be a
very
2 of
clever
hearts.
play. I don't ever use this. I use it sometimes, but generally it seems like pretty dumb. I'd want more equity, backdoor equity to do this. I'd want the jack of hearts. Okay, Mike,
Okay.
how are you
Yep.
looking over there? I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay.
What I want to do. Stop share. That one. Okay.
Okay. So we have, here's the button open range, and Melanie, as you see, any suited queen opens on the button there. I think that was maybe a question, whether we should open queen 5 or not, but it's definitely within range there. Big blind. Here's that king 10 that we talked about. And you see all of your broadways, unsuited broadways, all have sort of an element of defend. They all defend, and about half of them are going to be 3-betting, like even this king 10 gets the 3-bet. Whereas, let me move this, I gotta move this down. I'm going to show you, if we even use, I wanted to put this in here, a button raised to 4. And so this goes back to that other hand where you had a limp and then an ISO to 5, and you were in the big blind with king 10. So in theory here with GTO Wizard, notice how we now fold all of these hands in the big blind, even to a single 4x raise with this rake structure. So
Yeah,
just wanted to.
What's the rate structure, by the way?
What's that?
What's the rate structure?
10% with
Wow.
some kind of cap. So which
Wow.
That's kind of a typical, isn't that kind of a typical live rake?
It is, I think in California and some other places.
What's the
Um,
how high does the rate go up to?
what is it? What's the cap? I don't think we know what the cap is they built this with.
You're playing a game that you don't know what the rake structure is?
No, I'm saying that's when GTO Wizard built these, we don't know the cap. I play in Texas. I play a time game, time break.
Yeah.
So
So they're making us charts and they won't tell us what the rake structure is. Is that what you're saying?
um I'm just saying I don't know what the cap is.
Ah,
There it
gotcha.
is. No, that's Chippy V. Oh, there it is. Two big blinds.
2 big blinds. So if you're playing 5-10, that's 20.
That's $20.
And if you're playing 2-5, that's 10.
Yeah. So it's 10% two big blind cap.
Hmm.
We defend king 10 off there with three betting or calling. We get the flop, big blind checks range. Button with their queen 5. They chose to bet their queen 5, and notice the paired board, they get a very high frequency C bet, which they did, right? They bet like a third or whatever it was. And then the king 10 off chose to check raise, and it's pretty indifferent to it. It raises, it calls, it folds.
It's in there.
King Jack is sort of that threshold where it wants to defend by, it never folds King Jack. King 10.
The thing I notice here is that King 10 and King Jack, both the suited combos and the offsuit combos have check raise frequencies. And that makes sense. I can understand it. My argument would be that this is around blocking Queen X. But I'm not so sure because that doesn't make sense too much because button's supposed to RFI all suited queens, so maybe it's the backdoor quality of it. Like we have backdoor action going on here.
Yep.
Okay, so they do check raise. The button with his queen X defends by calling his entire range.
Yeah, this is important. So we got positional advantage, and anything we're calling, we're not raising.
We get that turn. Big blind who check raised is now, they did check in the hand, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's their defense here. Let me turn up some range height so we can see.
So King Jack has got enough to continue here. I guess King Jack turned equity, but and King 10 has showdown, so it makes sense.
So they check the button with queen 5, chose to check back their queen with a fairly weak kicker, but they did. They checked it back, right?
Yeah. Can you do me a favor on that button? Can you just on the filter below, can you just click trips? Just so we can focus on what our kicker has to be to bet here. So it looks like if we have an over to the queen, like we have ace, queen, king, queen, betting pure. It's very linear, isn't it? Queen, jack, betting a lot. Then we get down to the queen 5, we are checking.
Checking
So that makes
majority,
sense.
but you have some betting, right?
Yeah, every set of trips has betting.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And then we get the 10 paired here, the big blind with their king 10.
It is value betting.
They chose the bigger size.
Yeah. So they are value betting. So what's their equity with king 10 here on this line? I would guess it's like 60s, 80s. Pure, yeah. Interesting. Thank you.
The hand was perfectly played.
It was.
Yeah.
Feels so perfectly played, it feels naughty.
And then the queen. No, they don't use an all-in almost ever.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would think they would shove.
They practically prefer the click back size.
Wow.
It's like 2.5x-ish.
I would anticipate that is because it's hard to get called by worse when you have second
Yeah.
nuts. Notice that what I find interesting here is look what we're doing with quads. We're shoving. And we're shoving the quads because we're unblocking the queens. Whereas with the queens, it's hard to get called by anything when you have a queen.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you do shove, thinking about it, if you do shove with the queens and you're getting called by queens or better, queens you're splitting the pot, and then a lot of that pot, not a lot, a significant amount of that pot is going to rake, so you're still down, right?
Yeah,
So the click back, yeah, the click back makes actually a lot more sense
yeah, agreed.
with the queen. Yeah.
If they do click it back, let's see our tens. Oh yeah, they're just very indifferent.
Well, that must be why
Here,
we use that sizing because we're putting all the 10x calls sometimes. Whereas I guess in the solver they found that a shove, I mean, thanks pure fold, so you want calls from the 10 at some frequency.
Yeah, and I was going to go up one little notch on the raise to, oh, it doesn't like that. How about all in? Yeah, all in, all your 10x just fold.
Yeah, so that's why in solve it uses that smaller sizing because you get indifferent calls at some frequency from 10x. Cool. Interesting
Okay.
hand.
just out of curiosity, well, you still got that open,
Yeah.
if you didn't mind.
No,
I
you're
was going to
good.
say, could you see if the button on the turn bet small? I'm assuming the king 10 still called a small bet, like a 33 percent.
For sure.
And I'm assuming, yeah, the big blind still calls with their king 10,
So you want to
depending on the
see, sorry, on the
That's right, yeah.
turn.
Yeah,
Sure.
that was right, wasn't it? No? Yeah, you did it on the turn. That's right. So the big blind now with king 10 calls.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to their 10 on the river, do they check with the anticipation to raise, or do they lead? And depending on
They
what they
block.
do,
Looks like they
they
like a
block bet.
tiny block.
So what, a 10% roughly, is it? A 10% bet.
Yeah, 10% bet.
Okay. And then does the button still click back, or do they go bigger sizing in this case?
Now they get to shove. Oh, no, it's still not a shove,
Okay.
sorry. But they do use some bigger sizings now.
So it's just slightly bigger. It's not a click back, it's slightly bigger.
Yeah, to the 10, the B10, it's either like 5x their B10 or 10x their B10.
Okay. Excellent.
But yeah, the relative size of the raise does go up.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, can you see the hand history, guys?
Yep.
Okay, let me open some screens here. Derek, you want to take a hand?
Sure. Sure.
Okay. So take this hand. Through this hand.
Okay.
Here we go.
Deuces. Well, like I said zillions of times before, small pairs you can play if they think they'll stack off and you have sufficient depth.
Yeah.
So by the book, according to the solver, I'm going to say twos is a fold. But against a bunch of idiots, it's a call.
So this is pretty common.
Yep. So
This is when if we recall seeing Scotty's heat map, this is a very common EP limp.
yep. So I'd say this is common and done all over the time, but the solver would say this is a blunder. You should
Yeah.
never do this.
Yeah, we're not supposed to do this. So A6 is a very interesting spot here. What do you do with A6 when you see a limp from EP 7-handed?
I'm probably betting this all day.
Yeah, I think ISOing is fine here. I would go to 5
You
at
could
some
also
frequency. This is very awkward though, because you're so early.
you could also overlimp if you want to play a big pot because you think if I form a flush, then I don't care if I have a zillion.
I'm not
pairs.
against overlimping here. I think overlimping has a place. Does anybody feel strongly that overlimping is a mistake here?
Me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this hand, yeah, this is really a strange place.
Yep.
What would
I'm
you do,
fine.
Mike, what would you do with A6 suited here?
Either ISO or fold.
Yeah,
Yep. Make it 5.
yeah. Let's see what he
Yeah.
does. So
4
he
or 5.
chooses ISO.
4.5
Threes
I
are,
can take.
I bet
Threes.
threes are going to set mine here. No, they fold. This one fold. Okay. Hero, I think it's gonna fold. Queen 9, what are you doing Queen 9 here, Derek?
I hate my position. I kind of like Queen 9, but I'm folding this.
Yeah, I'm folding too. Jack 6 doesn't get to play, I don't think.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm
Derek, can
fold
you move
this.
closer to your mic?
Pardon me?
Can you? Yeah, there we go. If you move closer to your mic, you're really way off.
Okay.
That's better.
I'm on a SM58, so this is like a 30-year-old mic.
Okay, so I think if you did choose, I think he's gonna call here because he's gonna want to set mine. Which he does. Let's go to a flop. Okay.
Threes is having a conniption right now.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting trying to find a check raise here. So if you're P8, what are you doing now?
Well, it's a pretty dry flop except for the flush draw.
So you're the
So
limp caller in UTG. What are you
8,
are you
10,
going to lead or are you going to check?
10, 8, 8, 6 got there, but there's not that much that early position suited gappers. We have like a pair below third pair, so I'm fine with checking and giving up with this one.
Yeah, I think I check. So we must see a check raise here. This bet's fine. I think I would use this bet too.
Yeah, half pot is fine, totally fine.
I would claim I have the overpair advantage.
Now, if you make it, if twos makes it 30, then you can pretend to have a 3.
So I think what Gangster P8 is thinking here is, hey, you missed this flop with all your broadways.
Yeah, so let's make it 30.
So
Is what he's thinking.
he's going to check raise here.
Oh, his check raise is super small.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what size. I mean, I'm never finding this. I would want more equity. I'd want more equity with this, but he's going for it. He says this missed you. And so I am going to go for it.
So
And he gets full.
A6 folds here.
Yeah,
Oh.
this is a good play.
Okay,
I don't
would
know.
have played
Maybe I'm
it
being
30
results
if I
oriented. It
was
was a
check
weird
raising.
play. I don't know if this is a good play. I think I'd want more equity. I think I'd want like, I think eights with the eight of club would be interesting here, but I'm not limp full. I'm not limp calling eights. Anyway, it's kind of a gangster play. We're seeing a
I
lot of
think
gangster plays here, and actually,
I don't really want. I don't want to check raise with not having any outs. Like I've got 2 outs here, right? That's
yeah, you
pretty
got two out.
slim.
Well, yeah, arguably one because of the flush draw, but
I
yeah,
don't
two
think a
outs.
4 is an out. I don't think 4s are outs. You have
So
no flush draw.
yeah, it's a gangster play. I'm not making it. I'm not limp
No, I'm
calling,
not making
but
it either.
you gotta dig it. I don't know. I could make it.
Okay. I tried doing a bunch of this shit on the weekend and I lost money because they all
What were you
fold.
doing?
They all don't call. They all just call. Like it's sort of moronic for me to make gangsta moves against their one pair when I know damn well they won't fold one pair.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need more equity to make this play. I mean, I think like this is a very interesting play with like, I mean, I'm not limp calling eights, but if you had like the eights with the eight of clubs, that would be an interesting one to do it with. But
Yep.
This is a
I agree.
very image oriented play, right? Depends on your image and depends on their image, and you need both of those to line up for this to be a profitable play, right? If it's just a stab in the dark, it's long term not going to be profitable. But for it to be profitable, I would argue you would need an image where you're not just blasting off, and they need an image where they get just quite tight and maybe overstabbing.
yeah,
Yep.
agreed.
Except where I play, people are not paying attention to image whatsoever.
Okay, then it would
Okay.
be purely their image. If they're not paying attention to your image, you need to pay attention to their image, and it all depends on their image if you make that type of play then.
Yeah. Anybody, I'm skipping around. Anybody I have not caught on in a while? Anybody's not gone in a while? No. Richie, you want to take this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
So where are we? We would fold round to the queens in an ideal world, but yeah.
There it
Oh,
is.
Ebro's definitely not going to do anything with 3-6, 2-3. Yeah, limped in. Okay. Queens. What is it? So that limper has quite a decent stack size. So yeah, probably 4.5 bigs, roughly.
Yeah.
Fine as well.
I've been going
More
to
than
five
happy with
out.
that.
P5
Yeah.
is in a very interesting position here.
It is right. So it's a strong enough hand to raise this, definitely. Obviously, it again, you would think it is an automatic raise based on the players, but you would take consideration of the players left in the pot before you decide to play. But I'm happy with a 3-bet here. Obviously, the initial isolation bet from the button is a bit bigger than normal, which would mean you would have to adjust your 3-bet size. So instead of probably the 5 times, you would maybe go for somewhere 3 to 4, probably. So 15 blinds, I'd say maybe. Do you
15
agree or
blinds, I
not?
think,
Or,
yeah. Yeah.
I would go
Yeah.
18.5.
Say it again, Tora?
I would go 18.5. I would go if I count it, I would raise the pot for 5 big blinds and then add another 5 big blinds, and then I would add another big blind for being out of position. So that would be 18.5.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think anywhere between 15 and 20 is a good amount myself.
I think we're gonna see this
I-
a lot. I think people are gonna flat this combo a lot here.
Okay.
I'm not surprised we see this. So
So this hand, right, is more of a flattened hand than some other hands, king, queen suited, isn't it? Because the only problem is because the button range is quite wide. So, there is a chance that you're not going to be dominated by a limper. It's the 1 big blind and the 5 big blinds. Could have obviously ace king, could have ace queen, etc., etc. But their range is a lot wider. That I think it's okay to flat here, trying to keep in the potentially weaker player, that is player 2. But I would probably still, because you're out of position, I would probably still just go for the raise here.
I agree. I mean, I think I'm guilty of this play. And I don't
I
think
think
it's
I
the
am as
best
well,
play.
to be honest. Yeah, I've probably done this recently, but
Yeah,
it all depends on the player.
yeah. I mean, this is kind of like an implied odds hand. It's often
Yeah.
dominated, but I think I think a better play is to kind of slash cold four, three bet this. But I can understand wanting to see a flop with this hand. And that's kind of why. So,
Yep.
uh,
So because you called, you would check as the king
yeah,
queen,
I
so the
think you would
queens are
never,
playing
yeah.
as
So
right.
what are you doing with queens here?
So against population, I'm trying to think. So GTO wise first, what would GTO be? GTO, I would probably say it's probably a small continuation here. I'm not fully sure. I think it's maybe mixed, but I would check this because I think population are going to be calling from the small blind with a lot more suited aces than they should be doing.
I think check is
So
good. I think I would probably bet here just because I would feel like I have a range advantage against what I would perceive
yeah,
as a capped range. But I think checking is fine. I don't know that my play is better or worse.
yeah, I think it's mixed. I don't know if it's a hard and fast bet or check. I think it would be mixed. It'd be interesting to see.
And
Um,
obviously we're
but
off solver here. We can't look at solver and make a decision, but
oh yeah,
uh,
true, because we had a limper. Yeah,
yeah,
I think I'd check here because I'm not super confident on hand strength. So I would
I,
and you don't want
I
to
think
inflate the
that's
pot.
fine.
So I think check or small. I don't think I would go big.
Yeah, so he chooses kind of
Um
a small, he kind of actually chooses very mergey, goes like a little bit less than half.
mergy, yeah.
So I think we're
I
gonna
don't hate it.
see.
You
Well,
get
let
an
me ask you, so what are you
indication
doing with
maybe
king
of
queen
hand
here?
strength. I'd call. I'd call.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
think I
wouldn't
just
want to
call
check
here. I
raise and
mean,
then be blown off my equity.
I think I would just call.
Yeah.
I wonder if you see the check raise here, which is quite gangster. He does make the check
Mm,
raise here. This is quite a play. Um,
it is.
and you got queens facing this check raise.
With no club in hand, I would call. With a club in the hand, I would probably still call, but maybe leaning towards the fold.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd call for this sizing.
I think it's an easy delineation here. I think you can simplify this to call with the club, bluff catch with the club, fold without. And I think we're gonna see a fold. Yeah, he gets a fold. So that's a good,
See, I
I
would
mean, it's a
actually
good.
call. But am I getting this the wrong way round then? Because I would call without the club because that's
Yeah.
opening then bluffing with the club, and I would more consider a fold with the club because they're less likely bluffing because you're holding a club, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think it's
think
6 or 1/2 dozen of the other.
I think
The
it goes
club you
both
want
ways.
to, because you have the additional equity, but I'm sorry, then Tara, what were you saying?
I think it goes both ways, but you probably don't want a club here. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I think I'd want the club for the 3%
Yeah,
backdoor
I know
equity,
what you
but
mean.
but
Both make sense.
they both have, I mean, I think the word we use is strategic tension. There's strategic tension here because you want the club with the backdoor equity, but without the club,
Yes.
you like unblocking
Yeah,
his bluffs.
I think the thing here is his main bluffs come from Broadway clubs, so I think you would rather not have a queen of clubs.
So guys, I'm gonna take a little break here. I'm gonna come back and I don't have quite the stamina that Scotty does for 3 hours. So when I get back, we'll do a few more hands and then we'll call it. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah, no
sounds
problem at
good.
all.
Yeah, great.
Okay, I'm gonna be back in like 3 minutes. All right, I'm back. I think, why don't I take this hand while people are coming back? So
I'm here.
fives are a little bit early to RFI. I think generally this early, we're gonna fold fives. It's just too early. I wonder if we see a limp here. But I don't even think it mixes. I think that this early, we're just gonna fold fives. Might mix. I think probably he's gonna open it. Let's see what happens. He opens, it's probably fine. Cut off hijack, blue jack. Yeah, it's pretty early. I don't think I opened fives this early. It's hard. So queen jack should fold. But they're gonna call. No. So he should be taking this hand. 7-6 is not a defend. 7-6 suited is, but not 7-6 off.
7-6 off is a fold.
Yeah, he should
Fold,
he
fold,
should
fold,
fold
fold,
this.
fold.
The suited combo you call, I think 6-5 you actually. Uh, you get a couple three bets in this region. I don't really find them against UTG, but you do get them. They're very hard to play post. Okay, so this is a poor call, but then notice we've got a broken stack, so it makes sense. And we can see where the check raise is going to come from. So check. He bets small, and we're going to say check raise. Let's see what I mean. So if I was going to check raise here, I would always check raise the combo draw here. And I would probably check raise the backdoor draw. And I wouldn't check raise like 7-6 of clubs. It's probably fine. I also kind of stuck straw into the ass end of the straight. But he's going to check raise to a big size here, 4x, and it's going to work. Nice. All right, a couple more. Mike, you want to take one? You still there?
Sure.
All right. Okay.
All right, ace king open and get to big blind. Who can three better call to an early open like this? Ace king gets to call. We're a little deeper than normal. I would probably determine based on HUD stats if I three bet or just flat, but I'm mostly three betting.
Yeah, you can make some calls here against this early position. So he calls.
You just call.
Let me see what happens here.
So it should go check, and then we're gonna see a C bet. Which this flop I probably would C bet. It goes really tiny, like B20.
Yeah, this is like a
B20,
tournament size. You see this a lot in tournaments with shorter stacks, but
22.5.
this really isn't a thing in cash.
If I were P7 now, I would, yeah, I would check raise this size.
Yeah.
I mean, we just have, so much good equity. If it was a bigger size bet, I might consider flatting it instead of check raising it.
Yeah, I like this check raise too. I mean, you want to get value from his flush draws and all his lesser king X, right? So if you look what in theory, all the king X he's supposed to have is a lot, right? You got the best, and he's got all this king X that you want to get value from. So now you've got ace king and you've gotten three bet in position. What would you want to do?
Yeah, this is gonna get tricky now because when he check raises, we have top pair, top kicker. We do not have a heart. We're in position. I would probably lean towards calling here as opposed to bet three betting.
Yeah, I would call here, and I would obviously.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever raise here.
So his value region obviously is 9s and 5s. He's got bluffs around like a queen 10 of hearts would be a good bluff. Queen Jack of Hearts, Queen Jack of Diamonds. Never folding, and I don't think we're ever raising. I think you're right. I think you just call. Now, if we're a P9, how do we feel about this card?
Pretty good.
Agreed.
Pretty good. It wouldn't be a card that would be too worrisome. I mean, 4-5 gets there if, they decided to take this line. So P7, if he check raised there and got called, interesting sizing. I'm thinking, do we ever want to overbet? And I kind of want to say yes, like make it a big size here is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're getting max value from, well, you're deeper, right? Which I think gives you, in theory, more overbets because of SPR. And yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and your hand is kind of under repped when you flat as opposed to three betting ace king, so you're kind of hidden, so to speak.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
I, so I think taking a big size here is good, like even over betting. They go pot, okay, which is great.
And then I think you're not folding on this four.
No, the P9, if it were me, I would just call.
Okay. So
It could get interesting on the river, whether we decide to bluff catch or what. And actually, it's kind of interesting for both players because this is kind of a bad card for both players.
yeah.
Uh, wow. So if I'm P7 and I just overbet or potted it, I'm not super crazy about having top pair, top kicker, and going for like heavy value. Um, I don't know if we should do some check calling. I think I'd probably just bet fold maybe. Um, and again, it could depend on the player. Like, it could depend on the player I'm playing against.
What
I think,
about downsize into a block bet? Would you ever downsize to like a 20 big blind bet?
yeah, I don't know if this would be a good spot for it or not because I feel like we're gonna get, I don't know, maybe it is a good spot for it.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Um, I kind of, I think I would down bet here. I think I would go to 20 bigs and fold to a shove.
Any bet I make, I would fold to a raise. And so I think we should be going bigger if that's the case,
Okay, I can see that.
right?
Yeah, yeah, I can see your point. I mean, you can argue that a down bet invites um in a position to bluff us off, but it's hard to know what bluffs he has if we just go look at the history of this hand a little bit. So, okay, so we check raised, he calls. We pot it, he calls. So at this point, he's got slow played nines, shouldn't have fives. He's got a king. A lot of the majority of those, great majority of those kings were beating. And he's got pair plus draw, like ace nine of hearts. Um, but in theory, I think you call your nut draws here. So he still has ace high flush draws. I think this folds out a lot of lesser flush draws, but I think your nut flush draws are still in. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
some
kind of
gut
like
shots
a
too, like queen 10 and
queen 10 of
ace
hearts,
queen
maybe.
maybe.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so I don't know if I don't know if yeah, I think this might be too big. I don't know. Probably like I would probably choose the B60 size and fold. Maybe block is good. Maybe check fold. I mean, depending on size, I don't know.
so you've got so you're now P9.
Yeah, so if I get to this point and I've gotten this action so far and this river card, I think I'm folding, to be honest.
I think folding probably is reasonable here. Um, it's a horrible river. I would roll here, but I would fold the majority of the time. I mean, so obviously this is pot size bet. We know what our pot odds are, 32%. So I would roll this and I would call like 30. I invert the pot odds. I would call 30% fold 70. Which is my own special coping mechanism. But yeah, he finds a fold. I can't blame him. I would probably fold this too. Okay, let's call this the last hand. Who would like to take the last hand?
Okay.
Derek, you want to take the last hand?
Yep,
Anybody
yeah, I'll
else? Who
take it.
hasn't had a hand
Yep.
in a while? Melanie, you want to take the last hand?
Hello.
Melanie's not there. Derek, you want to take the last hand?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right, Derek, you've got
3-5 off, of course. Ace 7. You could play.
I think you're
But-
supposed to play this. This is a play. This early, you're playing all your suited aces. I mean, the argument is that at 100 bigs, you got knotted equity. You play your suited aces. So this is a very tight fold.
Yeah.
This is an
I
overfold.
played-
This is an
I
error.
played the Ace 7 suited.
I'm always playing this early.
Yeah.
Okay, what about tens?
Obviously.
Okay.
I'm playing tens.
Your microphone's gotten quiet again. Like, so
Make it 2.5.
it's really, your microphone is really
You're
good
making it
sometimes.
2.5 here?
Oh, that's perfect. You're back. Yeah, 2.5 is fine.
Okay, how's that?
Good.
Yeah.
It's good. Thank you. Okay, now, by the way, 5-4 mixed disciplined fold. Your hero,
Yeah.
and you've got an EP open, and you've got King Jack suited. What are you doing?
I'd say you can 3-bet this year.
Yeah, I think you can 3-bet it low freak. I think mostly against what cutoff hijack low jack. I think you mostly call,
Yeah.
but I think 3-betting's fine too. But I think I would mostly call this.
Yeah, I'm fine with call. I'm fine with
Yeah, I
3-bet.
think you can do either. So you see a call, hero calls.
That's fine. Totally fine.
Hero's getting spicy somewhere. So, check. What are you doing with your tens here?
I can defend a lot here.
Well,
There's no straights.
you're the aggressor, so you either check back or you bet.
I can bet here. I can bet like a third a pot.
Yeah, I think
I'm basically saying I'm having ace.
yeah, I think that you're essentially turning your tens into. I might bet here depending on what I expect here. I mean, if hero has a good check raise frequency in HUD, I'm probably checking back. I'd probably check here a lot.
I think my opponents play fit and fold, so I'm totally happy erring on too much continuation betting.
Yeah.
Do too
So
much
against a
fold.
small size, I think Hero is making a, does Hero do it? Hero goes for it. Nice play, Hero. Mike, talk to us about what brought you to a check raise here.
My spew filter was activated.
I don't think this is a spew. I think you've got a small size and you've
No,
got
I
two
don't know.
backdoors.
Yeah, it could have been a factor of the villain. Like it might have been something I saw or thought about the villain.
Yeah, I think this is a really good play.
But I will check raise like ace high boards occasionally with, you know,
Backdoor
we have
equity.
backdoor flush, backdoor straights, but
Yeah. I like it. I mean, I'm not finding it enough. I get too spooked by the
Okay, to get the fold?
ace high board. Let's see. Oh, he clicks it back.
wow, he must have saw something in the HUD.
Yeah. This is a very, very unusual play. I mean, You could argue what he's doing here is he's saying you do have nines and you sometimes you have threes. Well, you do have nines and threes, you have both. But I've got more ace X than you. So eat some of this. Okay, so Derek, if you're hero and you were facing a click, what are you doing there?
Well, I don't think you have fold equity again. If you check raise and someone clicks it back.
You do not have any perceived fold equity, I agree.
So shoving it in at this point doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Re-clicking it back doesn't make any sense. As a bluff. I don't think, because you're not going to get the fold equity. Like if you go to 26, then
The only thing I would click, I mean, I don't have any click back bluffs here myself. My click backs would be nines and threes. And maybe like ace nine suited. Well, ace nine suited, I fast play and probably shove actually. But what would you do?
I have not enough equity here, so I'm folding.
I would fold too.
So I wonder if like this flop, right? Ace 9-3, this is that classic super dry, disconnected type of flop. Where are our check raise bluffs coming from? Our values obviously coming from threes, nines, ace nine, ace three suited.
Well, should we pull this up in the
our
solver and then you
our
can,
natural bluffs would come from what?
I think
I
there's
don't know.
I think there's not enough equity with like King Jack.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think King Jack is not the hand to do it with.
Like if I had like King Jack of diamonds for or like 10 Jack of diamonds with a flush draw and whatever.
So probably like around the wheel, like maybe 4-5, yeah, 4-5.
around the wheel, I think 4-5 is the obvious one. 5-4 with the backdoor flush as well.
Do we defend 5 deuce suited? Do we defend
No,
4
we
deuce
don't.
suited?
We defend 5-3 suit, I think, but we don't defend 5 deuce.
So it's kind of hard to find bluffs, and I probably was kind of like at the time like if I'm gonna check, like I maybe looked at him, he's like a habitual see better, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna bluff, where are my bluffs coming from? And I maybe just picked it just for fun, but
Yeah, I think this is fine. I think it's low frequency, but I think it makes sense. I mean, it's kind of a weird play because I wouldn't make his play. If I was gonna do anything, I'd call. But um
3-4 diamonds, good bluff, huh?
he's only folding out your bluffs, and generally the check raise frequency is very bluff heavy. Very interesting play. Maybe it's a weird yap play. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna call it.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow doing more stuff.
See you guys
for
tomorrow.
hosting, Larry.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
no worries.
Thank you for hosting,
I hope to
Larry.
see you guys tomorrow as well. Come back.
Thanks, Larry. Thank Mike.
Yeah.
Hey,